Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. And thank you especially to the patrons who help make this possible for you every single day with their support at patreon.com/SW7x7. On a previous episode of the show, we talked about some footage that had been shown in a commercial but wasn't necessarily out on official Star Wars social media channels, and it seemed kind of spoilery, so I tucked it in the back of an episode that we could talk about it, but if anybody didn't want to hear the details, they could dip out. Well, now we're at the place where a new commercial for the Acolyte has been put on the official Star Wars YouTube channel. It's entitled Plan on the channel, and it includes some of the footage that was in that commercial, and it is that footage that could kind of be seen as spoilery. It basically helps to confirm this duality thing that we've been seeing hints of from the start with the two rings of the O in the logo, to seeing the two different faces of May in the key art, to then seeing this where there's a scene on a snowy planet and a bunch of Jedi are sheltering inside a cave on said snowy planet. Appearing at the mouth of the cave is someone who looks like May, but it is not the kind of May that we have seen in other shots in various Acolyte footage. It's a May who is wearing an entirely different set of clothes, does not appear to be involved with or doing the kinds of assassin-y-like things that we have seen May doing in other footage. And she tells the Jedi there, quote, "I didn't do it, believe me," unquote. And I gotta say, considering the fact that Leslie Headland has talked repeatedly about how the series is going to surprise us, about the fact that nothing is going to be as we expect necessarily, you have to wonder if there is yet another layer behind this situation. But at a minimum, we can be assured now at this point that when we see a May in a given situation, it may be one, it may be the other, and we don't necessarily know who it is under what circumstances. But this also gets at something that seems to be revealing itself more and more as we see additional footage and learn more about the Acolyte series, that it is really focusing on the nature of duality in a lot of different instances. I mean, I find it hard to believe it's a coincidence that Vernestra Rwoh is the only character who is being brought in from previous High Republic storytelling, and she has a lightsaber that can turn into a light whip, which we see very briefly happening in one of those teaser situations in that plan one, actually, like just the barest moment of the lightsaber rearing back and then it transforming into that whip-like behavior, or whip-like form, maybe I should say. It happens in a similar scene from where we first saw our reveal of Rebecca Henderson as Vernestra Rwoh in that same environment. It also comes up in some of the footage that's in another video called Saul of the Jedi, which is basically a mix of footage, some of it new, some of it repeated, along with some behind-the-scenes footage with interviews with Leslie Headland and Amanda Stenberg and Li Jung-jae, or JJ as they refer to him. But in one of those particular bits of new footage, Saul says to somebody, "You carry the weapon of a Jedi, but you're no Jedi." So we're emphasizing the duality of the light and dark, the Jedi and Sith situation. But as Leslie Headland has also pointed out, we are going to be dealing with institutions and people rebelling against institutions, and that seems to be taking place with Mother Anastasia and her followers, which in that plan short we have a voiceover referring to quote-unquote acolytes, and we see a shot of many of her followers there, so I guess we're meant to think that maybe they're part of that. But that is another situation where you have a group of Force users who just want to use the Force and who may or may not be evil, but they are simply not Jedi, and the Jedi are the reigning and ruling institution at this time in the Star Wars timeline, and based on what we're hearing so far, may want to and may be directly, actively deciding to have a say in who is allowed to use the Force and who isn't. And even the idea of May saying to Master Soul that it's time to face his past suggests that there is a duality within Master Soul as well, that maybe there is some sort of crime or some sort of bad behavior that he has done in the past that has been significant enough that May, or some version of May coming back into his life, to get him to own up to reconcile and atone for, that that sort of duality situation exists for him as well. I'm sure there are more examples of this kind of duality that have already been made evident with the Acolyte, and if you want to flag some of them, then by all means do. Comments in YouTube are right there. Spotify's got the Q&A section. Drop your answers right there, and anywhere else you're catching the show, please head over to the blog post for the show at sw7x7.com and let me know what you think. And that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. If you enjoy the show, I hope you'll consider helping more people find this daily dose of Star Wars joy and bringing it into their lives. You can do that by telling people in real life or online. You can do that by telling algorithms via ratings and reviews and likes and comments and subscribes and follows. And you can even help me produce this daily dose of Star Wars joy. You can learn more about that over at patreon.com/SW7x7. And it just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.